All right, all right. Hi, you guys. How is your Sunday? Are you guys just so excited right now? I can see it. Well, then let's not wait. You guys, let's just welcome in Andy so we can start getting into asking him some questions. Come on in, Andy.
Hello.
I know that some of your inspiration for music came from your dad and finding his music when you were young. And I know that you've talked about it on your podcast and in your book about it. What was the first song that just consumed you as a young artist and kind of really set you off into that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would attribute both of my parents to my musical influences. It's just that the rock side of things, or the more theatrical rock side of things, came from my dad. My dad introduced me to Kiss and, the 80s bands and a lot of punk rock bands. And so that was a big influence on me. But I would say the other side, my mom was interested in things like Bruce Springsteen and James Taylor and Cat Stevens. So it's almost like a dual answer, because hearing early Kiss songs and associating, wow, these like superhero guys with the heavy songs really meant something to me. But then hearing the more singer-songwriter side of things and the idea that you could, I remember I have a distinct memory of my mom playing Daniel by Elton John for me and explaining like her interpretation of what the song meant. And the idea that you could tell a story through lyrics, and that story could be so impactful that somebody could cry, or somebody could feel something, or somebody could feel joy because of a thing that you're saying, or a story that you're telling, or a narrative that you're trying to explain through a song. That was a really unique thing.
Nice. As young Andy was going to the Cincinnati School of Creative and Performing Arts, what do you think helped shape you in that program that you use today?
Well, I was there briefly. I always say that I loved that school and that opportunity probably more than any other experience I had had in my life to that point. I went there. I went to public school, and then I went to Catholic school, and then I went back to public school, and I didn't really fit in. I was never an exciting loser, in the sense that, like there's two different distinct categories. There's the person who maybe their whole experience in school is so unbelievably bad that it's notable. And then there's the kind of most people, which I think I fell into the category of, I was sort of anonymously a loser, in the sense that I wasn't like hated by everybody, but I certainly wasn't the favorite of anybody. And I didn't really have any friends. I didn't belong. I didn't feel like I belonged. My interests were left of center to the other kids, and I didn't get along with teachers well. I'm a pretty sarcastic person. You didn't pick up on it for the first half, but I have a very dry sense of humor, and I just didn't really fit in that way. And so when I finally I auditioned for the school, and in Cincinnati, if you live in the city proper, you can go there without tuition. But if you live outside the city limits, you have to pay tuition. And my aunts offered to help pay the tuition so that all that burden didn't go to my parents, because it's something we couldn't afford. And so I auditioned, and I got into the school, and it was really the first validation that I had. Because as a kid, like when I went to Catholic school, I would do things like try to perform Music of the Night from the Phantom of the Opera for like the nuns, and they didn't like it. So like I didn't have a lot of validation from external sources. In my home, it was always very positive, but I didn't have a chance to perform for somebody, and then that person said, "Wow, you're doing something great." So just getting into the school was the first time that somebody had said, "Yes, you're good at this," and so it meant a lot to me. It was a whole different experience for me. I went from being somebody who was, again, as I said, kind of socially inept, to, in that world full of theater kids, I was now cool, And and for lack of, I also, maybe more limited options at a theater kid school, but I was also very popular with girls all of a sudden. So that changed two dynamics for me. So I really loved it, and unfortunately, I don't know why, but they brought in during that time in the early 2000s, there was a big push on TV to have Midwestern-looking kids, just like me. And so they sent scouts to schools in the Midwest, like art schools, to try to find Midwestern-looking kids. Now, obviously, I didn't look like a Midwest kid, but I had a very specific thing about me, and so I got invited to go to LA for a month and try to audition for things through this company. And the school agreed to let me go. When I was gone, they changed artistic directors. The new artistic director made a bunch of cuts and essentially said that they would not support the time that I was gone. And it was the end of the school year, and that I would have to be held back a year if I came back to the school that actually sent me out in the first place. So I left, and now, because I've succeeded, they list me as a notable alum, but I like to point out that they actually ruined that for me. So.
Aw. So what, I know that you had your band early on, and you guys had formed and grown, and then that's when you first got to LA, correct? You had it at home.
Yeah, I started it in Cincinnati when I was
Right.
15. And then you're right, it was me and then kind of a revolving door of people, all of whom contributed something, but it was never took it seriously, or at least as a career. So when I got to LA, the goal was I'm going to find people that want to do this for real like me and are willing to do anything to make it and push yourself and make it your whole life. And then through the course of 2009 to 2010, I kind of assembled the Avengers that would be the band.
It's amazing. You had a lot of really great experiences, like different things. Your house was like the party house, crash pad.
The compound, we called it, yeah.
The compound.
Yeah.
You had a lot of really great stories that you talk about in your book that are really fantastic to hear. What's one story that you attribute going back to that you just take away from the compound that is just it's just a core memory for you?
You have to understand, I was to be a kid that is in my late teens, and I moved from the Midwest to LA, and it's sort of that, Axl Rose getting off the bus and Welcome to the Jungle. All of a sudden, you're in this whole other world, and at the time, really now, that whole area is mostly, hotels and apartment buildings, and a lot of the scene that still existed or was at the tail end of its life was still viable, and there were guys that, were in whatever, glam metal band that spent their nights drinking their sorrows away that it didn't work out because, grunge killed them or whatever. But I'd meet all these people, and it was really interesting to be that age and to be suddenly immersed in this world full of people. And I wanted, again, to go to what I said before, so much of my life at that point was about fitting in. So I'm like, well, now I want to fit in with this tribe. I want to be, I want to be crazy and drunk all the time. And and so that really was it. So it's hard to say core memories because a lot of it was, for better or for worse, I don't have a lot of memories of it because, it was...
Time.
Exactly. There would be moments where something would happen that I would go, I can't believe this is happening, right? I'm sitting with Sebastian Bach at the Rainbow a week after he gets off of celebrity rehab, and like TMZ sees him drinking, and he's like, this is my buddy Andy, and I'm like, fuck, this is so weird. But he was very nice, and we got, through that period, I got to meet all these heroes and Alice Cooper and Dee Snider and Nikki Sixx and all these people that were very complimentary of the band, and that part of my life is very different to where I see drinking and partying end up about 3 or 4 years after that. That's when it goes from like, this is all great and fun to it becomes a coping mechanism.
Right.
But when you talk about being the party house in LA, that was fun. There were bands that were in a position where they were signed or successful that would come to our little apartment, and, it was cool. You're like, oh, like, what's it like being, and most of them would big dick us and make us feel terrible about ourselves. But like just being ostensibly in some capacity in that world or around those people, it felt like you're making it in some way.
It's a proud moment for you.
Yeah. And I remember like there was a Rite Aid down the street. Jake and I would pool our money to try to like buy anything above the top shelf in terms of booze, or the bottom shelf. Because we were drinking like Popov and I had a bunch of Seagram's whiskey tattoos because we became obsessed with Seagram's 7 whiskey. Yeah. Well, what we did was a thing called a Sea-Doo. So you could you take a Mountain Dew bottle and you empty it to the label, like just the top of the label, and then you can fill it with whiskey, and then you can drink whiskey anywhere that you go all day long, and no one knows.
Because of the color of the bottle, it changes, it blends.
Yeah, you couldn't tell. Nobody. You could tell if you smelled the tremendous amount of booze, but we assumed no one could tell.
So when you finally started, getting out there and going, what was your moment where you were like, we finally did this, like we hit? Did you have like a realization moment where it was like, oh my gosh, we actually did this?
I don't know that. I think it's victories along the path of a dream. So, oh, I have shit on my arm. Excuse me. You start in the capacity that you want to. Okay, so let's say I'm a teenager and I'm going to Warped Tour in Cincinnati, and I see bands that I love, and they're standing in the stage trailer behind the stage, and then they come out and play, and then they go back. And I'm thinking, when I'm 12, oh man, I'd love to be back there. Like, I want to be in a band that gets to. I want to be a guy who rides my bike by the fence and I play a show and all that. So then that happens, and then. Well, man, I'd love to be on the cover of Alternative Press. They publish in Cleveland. I have them all over my ceiling. I then went on to be the person who was on the cover the most times in the history of the publication. Those are things where you go like, those are actually check the box. That was a dream and that happens. But I'm a very tenacious person, and I don't view myself as somebody who's in a position of anything other than you do your best to entertain people and give them something that's worth them having, and then they will hopefully allow you to continue to do it. So with every record we make, every show that we do, I don't feel any sense of accomplishment other than it's an accomplishment to know that the thing you made resonated enough with people that they allowed you the opportunity to continue doing it. I think the minute that you start to look at your success as something that is an achievement as opposed to something that you're striving towards continually, the level of self-satisfaction, I think, will kill you. And I think that's why a lot of times bands, as they get older, get objectively worse or detached because their previous success is the thing that they care about, and now it's just sustaining some sense of fame or self-righteousness. I want to be able to do things forever and have people go, yeah, go ahead and do that. I think that's the dream.
So for you, it's the ambition of just constantly evolving and growing and trying new things and expanding and reaching out in different ways?
Yeah, I mean, I think, sorry, I've never drank in the middle of talking before. That was a new. What I do is a little bit different than, say, a lot of people here. And by that, I mean actors, right? And this is not a criticism at all. This is just, it's a very different experience. What I do requires an audience of people to continually, the audience of people to continually say, we like what you're doing enough for you to continue to get to do this. It is a direct connection with your audience that is a unique thing to this art form. An actor, it's great if they have a fan base because that helps at box office or whatever else, but it's not, there is no contingency with someone casting someone to, do people think that they're cool still? You know what I mean?
Right.
If you're a director and you like somebody, regardless of whether they're a happening it actor right now, you can cast them. If you're in a band and everyone stopped giving a shit 10 years ago, you're not going to play the big festival or the big tour. So the understanding that an artist who does this, what I do, needs to have is that the contingency is, of course, I have to work my ass off and do something worth the people listening. But you have to appreciate and understand that a musician can only do the things that the audience allows them to do or gives them the chance to do. And that relationship gets perverted, by the way, because that relationship then gets to a place where people think that they own the artist, and then there's the sort of angry ideological conversations that happen on the internet based upon the fact that you think you know or want everything about that artist. But it is true on the whole that anyone that buys a Black Veil Bride's anything is the main contributing source to the reason why this happens. Beyond me thinking that I'm a genius or I can do great stuff. If I do that in a vacuum, it doesn't happen. So you need, in what I do, for the audience to be down with it. And thankfully, 15 years in or whatever, we've been able to continuously have that.
What started you on your journey to want to put out American Satan and get that creativeness out?
Well, I had nothing to do with the creation of it. That was an interesting thing because everything I've ever done in my career, I'm sort of a control freak on. Like I have my hands on everything, and I have a specific vision for how things are going to be, and this is how we're all going to look, and this is how this is going to sound, and blah, 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 down. That was an interesting opportunity because I had nothing to do with the writing of it. I had nothing to do with the direction of it. I had nothing to do with any of the creative. I was asked to play a role and show up and do that, and I didn't even sing in the thing. So it was very interesting to show up under the capacity of, and the bar is very low at the time, right? Because people are like, is he even going to fucking know the lines? Like, And then when I was decent, people are like, wow, you didn't screw it up. But yeah, again, it was fun. It was freeing and fun in that way. I do prefer being the one coming up with the idea. But I love the opportunity every so often to get to go into somebody else's creative place.
Awesome. What scares you now in life that didn't scare you when you were younger?
What scares me?
Yeah.
Well, it's like anybody. I wouldn't say that I'm constantly thinking about this, but you do. I'm 34, so I've never been 34 before, and in a few weeks I'll be 35, and I've never been 35 before. Every year that goes by, I've heard Paul Stanley say this before. Life is like a moving sidewalk in an airport, and when you're young, everyone on the moving sidewalk is in front of you, and you're angry that they're taking so long, and you have to get somewhere. The older that you get in your life, the further along you get on that moving sidewalk. And I'm now at a place where most people are still in front of me, but there's enough people behind me where I go, wait a second, I'm not the youngest person on this moving sidewalk anymore. So it doesn't scare me, but the reality that time only goes one way, and that inspires me because I want to do more to maximize the time that I can in doing this.
That's awesome. For the Andy Black project, showed a whole different side of you, more melodic, introspective, and cinematic. What inspired you to explore that sound?
Two things. I mean, one, I've always loved that, I guess, type of music, or I wanted to do different stuff. I was inspired by a lot of bands, especially a lot of punk bands growing up, who all of a sudden a person in the band would get a new, maybe it's the singer likes a different type of music, and then just completely destroys the band sonically. And then they make a record that sounds like that, and then they make a record that sounds less like the band, and on and on and on. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to take these different types of music I wanted to make in the influences that I had. I wanted to use them in a different way and create something different. And also, just full disclosure, it was a tough time in the band. You know, interpersonally, we were dealing with something that was difficult for all of us, and with that, it seemingly being able to not be solved at the time, I had no recourse. I was miserable on the road with the band. Everybody else is miserable, and so we needed to have something. I needed to have a creative outlet to do something. So it served its purpose because the first record especially was a very cathartic experience for me. And then with the second record, I was able to do something that tied into comic books and things that I love. So I would love to do another one again. I think the truth of the matter, and again, full disclosure, there are contractual obligations that require that there's a certain amount of time that could pass before that would happen. But I'm sure I'll do another solo record at some point.
That's awesome. If you could form a supergroup with artists from any genre, who would you pick and why?
A supergroup with artists from any genre? Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I think that there's probably a lot of I think that most hip-hop artists and country artists would not be thrilled about me calling them to start a supergroup if I'm the singer, if I'm the one who's doing the vocals, because I'm a terrible musician in every other capacity. So you wouldn't want me for a supergroup. I could be in an okay group, unless I'm singing for it, in which case I can only really do what this is. So it's going to, unfortunately, like it or not, it's going to have to be a rock-oriented band. And I don't know. I think, it's funny. All of my friends I have in bands are also singers. It's kind of a tough thing. I have a friend in a band called Creeper. His name is Will. And he and I have the exact same musical interests. And we're very similar people. And we like the same shows and movies. And it is the biggest shame in the world that we're both lead singers. Because we would make the coolest band, but there would be no music. It would just be two people singing.
So is there anyone from the past that you wish that you could have collaborated with?
Abraham Lincoln. No, there's a lot of artists, I would say the things that interest me the most in terms of collaboration are probably artists that maybe wouldn't musically make a lot of sense. And I got to do that on the Andy Black record. I had Matt Skiba from Alkaline Trio and Gerard and Mikey Way from My Chemical Romance, and I wrote with members of The Used and Patrick Stump from Fall Out Boy, a lot of different types of things for that record. So that was a fun opportunity. As far as a past band, I mean, I guess it would be interesting to get to transport myself to late 70s era punk, just because I grew up with so many of those bands, Sex Pistols, Clash, The Damned, those kind of bands. So maybe they probably wouldn't like it, but I would sing for The Damned or something. I don't know.
So I have a question for you. Since you like to go into a little bit of the deeper arts and stuff, have you ever considered or thought about in your head of like planning out a haunted house, like an attraction for someone?
Planning out a haunted house?
Like the direction where it would go, like the visuals and the music that would
I
be
know.
playing.
Well, I know exactly what it would be. For about 5 years, I dreamt every night that I was in an abandoned mall, and I had different types of dreams inside the mall. Like, they weren't all bad dreams. Some dreams would be like a good dream, but everything happened in the same abandoned mall. And it wasn't scary abandoned, it was just empty. And I don't know what that is. I talked about it on my podcast, and a bunch of people told me that I'm crazy or something. They had like all these explanations, but I would do an abandoned mall haunted house where each store has its own theme, and then people jump out from, because you got the pull down thing, which always is so aggressive.
The drop down windows.
Yeah. Like when you're leaving at the end of the day at a mall. I would want that where people jump out from that. That would be it.
And what would be the one character that you would have to have in, like, that would be a standout? Like, is it a clown? Is it a chainsaw person? Is it a witch? Are you looking at a warlock? Like,
a warlock?
You could do a lot.
Is
of
that
different
scary?
things. You can make it scary.
Yeah, just warlocks. A whole mall full of warlocks.
Just like D&D style.
Just like 500 warlocks.
Let's do it.
Yeah, that's what it'll be called. 500 warlocks.
500 warlocks.
Yeah.
A giant battle.
The Mall of Warlocks.
So I want to open it up to some fan questions because I know you guys are dying to ask some questions. So let's go ahead and start over here on the far end.
I was just wondering if you would ever work on a film yourself or something similar to what you did in the Wake Up video.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly, most records that we do have some sort of central theme. The last record was very thematic. This record, the one that we just finished, is much more. It's not a concept record. There's certainly a theme to the record, but the songs represent different kind of versions of the same basic tenets of concepts. So I wouldn't say with this record we would do something like that, but maybe in the future.
Yeah, go ahead right here.
It's interesting because I've been a Bengals fan since I opened my eyes. I was born and raised 5 minutes from the old stadium and the new stadium. Went to games my entire childhood. You know, probably if you know me, that I used to host the pregame show in Cincinnati on the radio for years. So it's a big part of my life. And the other side of that is that it's been pretty much bad my whole life. Like, yeah. So, well, okay, but I don't like to hear that. I really don't like when someone whose team is bad for 10 minutes talks to me about, oh, I know. This happened to me the other day. A buddy of mine is a Mets fan, and he said to me, I said, because I'm a Reds fan, the Reds haven't won a playoff game in 31 years, or playoff series in 31 years. Twice. The only 2 Super Bowls we've ever been to. Oh, yeah, we've done 3 now. Great. And we lost to another fucking one of your teams out here. But so what? I don't give a shit about that. I didn't go to college. I didn't even finish high school. I don't care about college. The Buckeyes, for people from Cincinnati, unless they attended Ohio State, is just a safety valve that I think is for the weak. If you're like, yeah, but we got the Buckeyes, I'm like, did you go there? Because you can't. If you didn't, you got to ride with the shitty team down here. No, so yes, but all things are. So anyway, I feel fine about it. I'm sort of numb to the idea of good or bad things happening in relationship to that. I texted a friend of mine this morning, why do we like football? So to answer your question, I want it to go well, and if it doesn't, I still will be a stupid fan for the rest of my life. I can't help it. I was given this disease. Yeah. What's up?
We're going to jump over here. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask, so I know your last tour was inspired by Sweeney Todd, which is
Mhm.
Bella Theater Kid, was incredible because that's one of my favorite musicals.
Yes.
Are there any other musicals that you considered either covering songs from or like drawing inspiration from for tours? or
Yes.
albums? Ooh, which one?
I'm not going to tell you. Come on.
Can I ask what your favorite musical is?
No, because then that's also going to fall into it. It's not a typical jump. You just got to pay attention. I've put clues out there. I leave a lot. I'm a very Easter eggy type of person. I leave a lot of little clues.
Go ahead.
I know you said you've been doing this for over half your life. What parts of it feel different? Obviously, you talk about
Yeah. You were going to say old. You were going to go the opposite. You caught yourself. You said being younger and then being not as young. Sorry, continue.
you guys aren't like just a beginning band.
Yeah.
I was wondering how
Well, that's the biggest difference. I don't feel any different. I feel physically and whatever the same, but emotionally and certainly intellectually, I've grown a lot. Part of the problem with getting any kind of success when you're as young as I was is I didn't really have any life experience. And the people that I was around primarily were like degenerates and idiots. And so my life experience and the things that I picked up were sort of this piecemeal of things that were going on. And it's hard to be that age. It's already hard to be that age because there's so many emotions and things running through you all the time. But to be like someone in your late teens on a tour where you're expected to know how to act is kind of irrational. And I kind of learned and then unlearned behaviors through the course of my touring life to where I'm now more comfortable in who I am and as a person than I've ever been. So it feels like the best time in my life because I still physically feel great like I did when we started. I don't at all feel I feel totally excited about everything we're doing. I don't feel at all like I'm over it or whatever. But also, I'm much smarter and I'm able to better handle myself when it comes to being gone all the time or the rigors of the road or whatever it is.
Go ahead, right here.
I haven't heard anybody talk about it yet, but I do just want to say, as a 15-year fan, thank you for being here. What's any update that we could have in regards to Paradise City?
Well, I can't possibly give you any update about it. They posted that there's going to be a second movie. Also me. What I'm trying to say to you is I don't know anything. I wasn't told before that post happened. It's definitely me in the posts. Well, no, I mean, it's like art, and I'm not accusing them of that. But point is, maybe they're just going to draw me in the whole, be Jessica Rabbit the whole movie.
Yeah.
Well, of course.
Right up here. Go ahead.
How does it feel to be 34? I am. I mean, look, I'll be honest with you. My 30s have been my happiest era in my life by far. And I don't know. I just think that my 20s were so tumultuous, and I was trying so hard to figure out who I was going to be, that the last several years have been a time that maybe for the first time in my life I felt like I'm just improving upon myself as a person as opposed to piecing together who I'm going to be when I grow up. I'm growing up. So now who I am is who I'm going to be, and it's about improving my life in the ways that I can. Yeah, no worries.
All right, you guys, go ahead. We'll take one last one.
Of the books that you have written in collaboration with Rare Bird,
Mm-hmm.
is there one that you're most excited?
Bleeders, the new one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was actually talking about it the other day. I'm really excited about that one. I think that it's a different take. It's not utilizing the source material, whether it's String of Pearls or whatever, but it's much more of an anti-hero story, which I think probably falls in line more with the music video and the concept that there's this sort of direct reasons for why this guy's doing it. And if you pick up in the video, there's the characters we kind of show, oh, here's what they did wrong to him at some point. It's all revenge based, but yeah, I'm very excited about that one.
All right, you guys. Well, that's our time today. Thank you so much. Thank you, Andy, for coming
Thank
in
you,
here.
everybody. Appreciate you. And thank you to all the other panel hosts that I met. I think, by the way, I just have one final thing to say. It's not the panel hosts that are here. It's the panel hosts we meet along the way. And so, thank you, everyone. I appreciate you. Thank you. Give it up to our panel hosts, by the way.
Thanks, you guys.